What is going on, guys? Hello and welcome to Navy Wrestling Club's first podcast. I'm Peyton Walsh, and I'm really excited to be here and talk to you guys. We're going to get to sit down with Midshipman Fourth Class Peyton Thomas about his blue and gold experience, what his expectations are for the year, and hopefully just get to introduce him to all you guys. Secondly, we're going to get to sit down with Ty Eustice, new assistant coach for the Naval Academy, how this adjustment has been going for him with his first season right here. How blue and gold went for him and what his expectations are. Let's get after it. All right, our first guest, Midshipman Fourth Class Thomas. He's an Oklahoma native. He's a plebe this year. Let's get him on the screen here. Peyton, thanks for tuning in, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. It's good to see you. How's the 12 weeks preparation going?
It's going pretty good. Kind of just getting ready for more tests.
Yeah, good. I wanted to have you on this is our first podcast. I wanted to bring you in. You're obviously a plebe, so not a lot of the fans, have seen you wrestle yet. But one of the things that I've noticed from the RTC and the club perspective, when we get those RTC practices going, is how well you've really adjusted to the pressures of the academy and the wrestling room. Because I know, speaking from experience as a plebe, I certainly didn't acclimate as quickly as what I'm watching you do. So that's why I wanted to pull you in. I really just wanted to get your take on everything so far.
I feel like the partners have been really good, helped me adjust. Coaching wise, we have like the best coaches that any student athlete could ask for. It's been amazing. I've loved my time here.
Yeah, well, good. I mean, so overall plebe year, how has it been different from NAPS and not just wrestling but academically and what's your take on it so far?
NAPS, I struggled a lot because I kind of felt like it was just me. Like, it was just like, my take on things. I didn't exactly know how to learn. I didn't exactly know how to attack a class. Here they help you a lot more with say there's a lot more midshipmen that are willing to help you, like people that have been through the classes, upperclassmen. At NAPS, it was just one class. We were all going through the same classes together, so nobody really knew how to do it. NAPS wrestling, I had Dylan Elmore. He's a fourth class midshipman here now. It was just me and him in the room, and we would just scrap every single day. It was amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, I noticed, you've just been very competitive in the room. It just doesn't seem like it matters who you're wrestling during practice. And you had a really successful, mini tournament leading up to the blue and gold event. And then, you wrestled really well, Saturday night. And it was just exciting to watch you. I know you had your family in town. So I guess I just wanted to get your take on that and, how it felt to finally put the singlet on and wrestle in front of a crowd, especially, we're just a few days away from competing against Pittsburgh.
I'm very excited. I felt really good in that match. He was a bigger guy, so kind of struggled moving him a little bit. The Saturday the matches leading up to that, I just worked a lot of feet movement and quick snags and outside steps left and right, and it felt really good. I felt really good. I'm excited. I'm excited for this competition coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult wrestling, a teammate. You guys wrestle in the room and you're practicing with one another, so you have a feel for each other. And like you said, Ben is bigger. Like, he's a big guy. He's tough, PA state champ. But, it looked like you're having fun and, you put on a show for everybody, which was, exciting for the fans. And, with that being said, how did you feel about blue and gold? How did it feel to wrestle in Dahlgren? I know we typically will wrestle in alumni, but I liked the environment of Dahlgren. How did you feel about all that?
I definitely loved the environment of Dahlgren. I've seen this duel for 2 or 3 years now, and like I've just always wanted to be in it. Like I've always been impressed when we're watching Blue and Golds. Like I remember my junior year, the very first time I watched it. I was like, man, I want to be in that duel. I want to be competing. I want to be competing for that starting spot. And finally, it came true, and came out there, had fun, got the job done.
Yeah, and hopefully you got to spend a little bit of time with your folks too. I know they spend quite a bit of time in the car to get out to see you.
They definitely do. I think it's a 22-hour drive from Oklahoma up here. So,
oh man,
yeah.
I admire and respect your parents wholeheartedly for and that's awesome. And obviously, it means the world to you. And you went out there, got the W, and like I said, put on a good show. With that being said, how do you feel about going into Pitt and the rest of the season? It's your first college season, so it's going to be a little bit different, than high school, as you were kind of mentioning earlier. What are your expectations right now, and for Pitt and for everything else coming down the road?
Well, the broad expectation is I want to be on that podium. I want to be at the NCAA podium. This coming weekend, I'm wrestling the number 16th ranked kid. He's just a block in the way. It's not like, it gets me excited. He's a ranked opponent. First match, I'm going to come out there, punch him in the mouth, and get the job done. I'm ready. Like I'm like boiling over with excitement. Like I'm going to love it.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And, I think as a fan, an alumni, and, obviously being part of the RTC now, it has been super exciting, incredibly enjoyable to watch so much young talent come into the room over the last couple months. Obviously, I didn't know you before you came down from NAPS, but it just gets me excited about the future of this program and your future as well. It's provided so much more depth to our lineup. And, to hear you speak so confidently and energetically about what's to come is, a good sign for the future. And, I just, appreciate your take on all that. And I'm glad you had the time to come in and talk to us. Is there anything else you wanted to, highlight or mention before we let you get back to studying?
No, I ain't got much. Thank you for having me, Coach.
All right, Peyton. We'll see you later, buddy. And with us now, we got new assistant coach, Ty Eustice, former head assistant from Davidson, joined us this summer. Thanks for being here, Coach. Really excited to have you on board.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. Hey, obviously this is our first podcast. I wanted to get your take on the Blue and Gold from your perspective, being it's your first Blue and Gold experience. And then your coach's eye. I wanted to see if there's anybody in particular you want to talk about, or who you're most excited about this season. But first, I really wanted to get to know you a little bit more. A lot of the fans and alumni have not gotten to know you yet. I think this is a great forum and opportunity for you to kind of share a little bit about yourself. So I'll just kind of hand the mic over to you, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and really how you got to Navy. Like, how did you get here?
Why don't we just start with why I'm at Navy and then maybe go back to the beginning. But I think the biggest part for me looking at the academy was just seeing a trend in college wrestling. And I would say the trend maybe started, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when you kind of saw the rise of the Ivy Leagues, and just like, why are the Ivy Leagues being able to attract, higher level wrestlers than they've ever been? And then I think in the last couple of years, when I've been at Davidson College for the last 3 years, we started bumping up against the academies in recruiting. And I think what I've kind of come up with is just, I think the college wrestling world as a whole has evolved. I think parents of prospects have changed maybe their mindset for how they view the process. I think if I was going to sum it up, I think people are a little bit more discerning about where they're sending their sons to wrestle, and those reasons have evolved and changed. And what I think that means is, I think people want to know what comes after the wrestling, right? I think people are a little bit more aware of, hey, this wrestling thing is going to last 4 or 5 years. What comes after that? What am I getting? What kind of degree am I getting? What is the school going to provide to assist my son with a job, with a career? And that, I think, has really, really changed the landscape of college wrestling. Where that left us was the academies are starting to get some really, really high-end wrestling recruits. And so we were bumping up into them and losing kids to all the academies, not just the Naval Academy. But I could see this tide coming, and I think it's going to ramp up even more so in the coming years because we have so many advantages over the rest of the schools in the country. The Naval Academy specifically has so many advantages. What we have in place right now is pretty incredible. Part of that too, I would be lying. I would say Coach Kolat.
Absolutely.
Really got my attention. But I would say the recruiting classes of the Naval Academy got my attention. Barry Davis getting hired at the Naval Academy shortly before me got my attention. I reached out to Coach Kolat. I wanted to learn more about the position. I think our personalities and I think our outlook on wrestling really meshed. And I could see that I got a really good glimpse as to why he was so successful as an athlete. And then kind of like, wow, how did the rise of Campbell happen? And now I'm getting a firsthand look at that every single day, like you are. He has an incredible passion for wrestling. He has a vision for what the Naval Academy can provide our athletes. And there's an unending kind of pool of energy there, I think, that he's leading. And that would be the word I would use. He's a leader. And head coaches, I think people are kind of like, well, yeah, he's a head coach. He's a leader. There's different levels to leadership, right? And we both know that. But I saw very quickly where this thing is headed after meeting him and his family and just seeing the yard, seeing our facilities. I knew what the roster looked like. So I was blown away. Brought my family here to visit. Was just so impressed. And every day that I'm here, it affirms my decision to come here. It's been great. The staff, yourself, obviously Blaze, Barry, Ben, Quinn Kinner, everybody. We have quite the crew, and that might even be a whole nother podcast that we might need to do just about our office environment. But it's been great. Where I started was I grew up in southern Minnesota. Small family, me and my brother. My dad was our coach. Wrestling was our whole life. Not our whole life, but it was a really big part of our life. We did a lot of winning in high school. My brother went to the University of Iowa. I looked at the University of Iowa or the University of Minnesota was really the only schools I was considering. And followed my brother to the University of Iowa. We really, really neat situation to be able to wrestle on, a premier college wrestling team with your brother and having your family all a part of that. So that was obviously pivotal in our life. Both of us made the national finals. I was a 2-time All-American, team captain, just wrestled in, the biggest dual meets that you can and on the stage there at the national tournament. Immediately moved into coaching. I told Coach Cole this in the process, but I've coached at every single level of NCAA wrestling, and I was a junior college head coach for 2 years as well. So I think any of our supporters and fans of the program, just knowing my background, I've always been able to build relationships with athletes. And I think that's because of my experience coaching at different levels, coaching at different size schools. You're gonna be around different people, and I think that's always been something that I was good at, is just getting to know people, building relationships, building trust. I think is the biggest thing as a college coach. You have to build that, and that's really comes down to being yourself and getting to know people genuinely is kind of how I would put that. But yeah, the last 3 years before I came here were spent at Davidson College, an extremely high-end academic school. with I think they're really starting to build their athletic programs up. We'll see what happens to them kind of in this new age. The only other thing I would add about my history is I spent 5 years with Jay Robinson. I might be the only Hawkeye maybe ever spend 5 years at the University of Iowa and 5 years with Jay Robinson. I think he probably outside of my dad, Jay was one of the most influential people, in my life. The camps themselves, the Jay Robinson intensive camps, just a really impactful experience for me to spend time leading that camp. Obviously, Jay was the boss; everybody knew that. But I was, I definitely was pretty integral to the process of those camps around the country. So I always have to mention Jay in anything that I talk about because he really was. You want to talk about leadership? He was on the wrong side. He was in the Army.
I know, but the guy is a legend for sure.
I sent him a text when I accepted the job and said, "Sorry, Jay, I'm going to be." And he replied in obviously good spirits. Anyone that's close to Jay, he cares about people, and he was an Army Ranger actually, which I guess would be the counterpart to our SEALs, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave that to you to compare the two, but yeah. So here we are, and we're a couple months into the season. My family's transitioned here, and which has been great. My kids are in school, so we're finally at a point now where, wow, the season's we're leaving this week. We're getting on the bus to go to Pitt, which I know we're going to talk about. But it really has been like any job change, any moving across the country. It just you got to do the work, and you got to go right into it. And we've done that. And I have an extremely supportive wife who loves me and loves my career, and she values what I do as well.
Yeah.
So that has made our transition just doable.
Yeah, I mean, it really has been all gas, no brakes for you and the Eustice clan for sure. I mean, you guys got here. Well, you were in and out in June, and then right as the NAAA block was kicking off, you guys were house hunting. You were driving back and forth, managing your wife's her career, your kids summer schedules, and then obviously you're trying to get settled. And so I know that was crazy, and you hit a lot there that I kind of want to retouch back on. And
yeah,
I've never like brought this up in the office, but you probably hear this every time you talk to a new wrestler or whatever. But I actually attended a J-Rob camp. It's probably before, I don't know, 2008, I think. Were you there at that point?
No, I was not. So I would have been I was still in grad school at that time. And I was, God, I don't have the years off the top of my head. They'll come to me. But actually, and you don't know this, that's how John Lay, I knew about John Lay before.
Oh, really?
He went to the Naval Academy. John was at a Jay Robinson intensive camp, and he stood out to me. He did exceptionally well at the camp. And then I followed him when I got back into coaching. I obviously followed him. Yeah. And I actually talked to him a little bit at Fargo one year. I approached him and I was just like, "Hey, I know you." And he was like, "Oh, hey, coach, and then, small wrestling world. When I was researching this job, I looked at the roster and so, when you have guys like that on a roster, that really helps your decision making, because let's be honest, we know what kind of guys we want to see on a roster, and John is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, that's wicked. I didn't know that. Did he know you from camp or?
Oh yeah. He, again, like Jay was the boss. I would say I was second in command. And so like Jay was always the good cop. I was always the bad cop. And that's what he paid me for, though, is to do the ugly stuff and do the hard stuff. And
he was the CO, you were the XO.
John stayed out of trouble. He was so talented as a high schooler, junior high, he might have been at that time, but he stayed out of trouble. He didn't fall into my purview at all.
It's still cool. There's a connection there. And
I
kind of want to back up a little bit to one of the things you said. I don't have a whole lot of perspective here. This is like my first, coaching opportunity with the RTC. But you kind of hit on the staff, and from my seat in the way that stepping out of the Marine Corps and jumping into this coaching role with the RTC and interacting with you, Coach Colat, Blaze, Coach Davis, and Quinn and Mac, all the energy is so high around the program right now, and Quinn always jokes about the vibes are high, being the vibe guy, and I'm curious to get your perspective on that, and I think before you took, maybe it was right after you took the job when we first interacted, I mentioned that Coach Colat, it seemed like he had kind of, at this point, this is his 5th season. It seems like he's had the ability this year to really handpick people and put them in certain positions that he wants to. And I'm curious, now that you've been here for a couple months, the season's right around the corner. How does the office environment, the staff environment feel to you compared to Davidson? And really, what is the overall academy experience like compared to Davidson from a coach's perspective, I guess?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have one of the largest staffs in the country. We have 4 full-time coaches, and we have a director of operations on top of that. And obviously, we know that with the Navy Wrestling Club, with you and Quinn, and we're probably going to be adding people to that. So I would say the biggest thing is just it's a big staff, and there's growing pains with that, no doubt, right? Like 5 of us were brand new to that staff. I think Carrie has done just a phenomenal job at like handling adult personalities and lives and transitions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That takes an immense amount of leadership, and he has the right personality for that. He doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low. He's funny, he's outgoing, but when it's time, I told somebody this the other day, when it's time to be serious, we all know he will let everybody know when it's time to flip the switch from, we're lighthearted, we're hanging out, and then it's like he looks at his watch, and if it's 6 a.m., it's like, okay, he sets the tone, and that's a good thing. He's a leader, and he's used to doing that. So I think by and large, the biggest thing that I've noticed is his leadership. But we have had a staff of 7. We're all merging together. We're all finding our roles. We're all finding our niches. We all don't have to be good at the same things, right? Like we're doing the things that we're good at. We're picking each other up when we need help, and that's what a healthy staff is supposed to do. We're supposed to enjoy each other. We're supposed to enjoy the process, I would say, more than anything. Any college wrestling level, you have to love the process of the thing. It is not all about outcome. If you don't love every day putting on wrestling shoes and walking into the room and wanting to help, 18 to 22-year-old guys, this is not your business, because you're going to have lows. You're going to have a lot of lows. Things are not always going to go well. And we all do. Like all 7 of us, we genuinely love being in there. That's the overriding theme right now. And that's why, vibes are high, right? Like Q kind of says it, but we do. We're all excited to be there, and I think you can feel that trickles down to the guys. They're going to need that energy from us. Sometimes we take that energy from them. But Naval Academy as a whole, leadership again. Everything that I've seen from Chet is an unbelievable amount of leadership and intensity. I would even use that for him. He is a professional. He is confident, and he has a vision for what Navy athletics is. And I think that trickles down too, right, to all the coaches. Coach Colat says it to our guys. It's a performance-based team. We are here to perform. Winning will happen. We want winning to happen, but it is about performance. Focus on the process, focus on performance. Good things are going to happen for us. So, man, there's again, we could have a whole podcast just about our staff and what we do on a daily basis. But I would just say there's a great amount of camaraderie, but we all have the same goals. We all love to work. We're passionate about helping these young men. And the fact that we all have, a similar mindset, good things are going to happen for the 7 of us for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that was well said, man. I couldn't agree more with any of that. That was well said. with that, I kind of want to transition into the blue and gold. Obviously, you've seen inter squad matches. You've been a part of those. You've probably competed in a few.
Yep.
But what did you think of our blue and gold event? Not sure if you made it out to the social beforehand. I'm not sure if you made it out. You did? Okay. So yeah, we had a lot of alumni in town, a lot of families, obviously, watching their sons wrestle. But then also I just, what was your take on the actual competition, and who impressed you the most? Who are you excited to watch, as we roll into Pitt this weekend? And hand it over to you on that.
The social was great. You guys did a great job getting that together. What I felt, and I am just a new kind of fly on the wall in this program. I mean, I will contribute more and more as time goes on, but right now I'm in a learning phase and an acclimation phase. But what I have seen with the families and the alumni is just pride, right? Like there's so much pride for one, having your son attend the academy, but pride from alumni that like seeing you interact with alumni and hearing, the conversations that you're having and knowing about the donations that are coming in. There's so much support and pride coming from those two areas that, man, you can't ignore it, right? Like you and Cole out were talking today about everything that you've asked for from people has been exceeded, and that's not like that everywhere, right? And so I think as every day that ticks by, and the changes are happening in this program, but the one thing isn't going to change is people's pride for attending the Naval Academy. It's an unbelievable honor. I don't know what that's like, but I'm sensing it. I'm definitely sensing it. So the social was awesome. The people were excited to be there. Blue Gold is a cool event. Dahlgren's a great facility to have that in. I would have liked to seen it with the boxing at the same time, like years past, but it doesn't really matter. But just for my own sake, it's almost like what I'm looking forward to the Army-Navy duel. I'm just excited to see new experiences, and I love wrestling so much. I'm really aware of environment, right? Just because how I came up and wrestling at Iowa, environment was so big. So I'm very aware of environment and as you would call them, vibes. But it's I inter squad matches against your teammates and your friends. It's tough. Like, let's just be honest. They're very interesting. They're very tough. But the real competitors in our sport, they know how to turn that off and they know how to turn on the competitive side, right? So we got to see that, right? Like, I understand that's your friend and that's your, you've known that guy for years and that's great, but know how to turn that off, know how to control your own emotions where you can shake hands and go to business, right? I got to go to work. This is time to work. We are not playing patty cake.
Yeah.
I'm respectful of my teammate like I am any opponent, but I gotta get to work. This is about me. Wrestling is an incredibly selfish sport. Once you cross into those lines and put a singlet on, it's one-on-one, right? Like it is a combat sport and it's time to go. But overall, our guys, not everybody knows, but we had matches in the room a couple days prior, kind of setting up the matches for Blue Gold. The level of intensity was much higher. The level of wrestling was much higher at the Blue Gold than the previous days, is how my eyes saw it. Obviously, if we want to talk about a couple of highlights, Totten moving down in weight, potentially. He's still got some work to do, but for that weigh-in, he was down, probably lower than he's ever been. There's Totten right there wrestling Treaster.
Yeah.
Treaster has just a great family history here. Totten has been incredibly impressive to me. He must be incredible. He's strong kid, but he's equally as explosive. I'm excited to watch his journey this year. But he's got 3 other guys at the weight class that all want to wrestle him hard. All are young men. So he has a little advantage there, but he is very talented, very explosive. It was good watching him wrestle. He has a lot more in the tank. What I told him is, hey, you got a lot more in the tank as you get more comfortable with your weight, as you get more comfortable with energy. you're going to be able to tap into that and start showing people what you can really do. But man, he comes from a great wrestling family too, and so I'm excited to see him. And then I'm trying to think what the next one that I was going to talk about.
Well,
go ahead.
I will say with Totten, I am impressed with, he's balancing a lot more this year, I think, with the weight management stuff. And you're right. Like, just to kind of highlight what you said is like, he's got 3 hungry dudes like coming for him,
which is good.
And no, it's good. Everybody wants that spot. And I hope that hunger, that desire to be the guy continues throughout the year, because that's only going to make them all better. But you're right. He'll get acclimated to the weight a little bit as he starts to actually make the weight and compete. His body weight will, naturally get down.
It already is. You do got to add, like, Treaster has really, he's really started wrestling well. He has a lot of ability. Young guy, but he competed his butt off in all the matches that he's had this fall. So again, it's really, as a coach, what you want to see is guys wrestle hard, compete hard, put themselves in a position to improve. And I think all of our guys are doing that in this particular event. I thought guys really represented themselves well. And so it was fun to watch a good match for sure.
Yeah, I think, not to discredit anything that, Nick did. Treaster's been working his butt off and overcome some injuries already so far. And they gave a competitive, show that evening. The other one I think you were going to talk about was Zion and Daniel Williams. Both those guys. I think that we left that one like the final match for the event, because I think both of these guys are kind of, they're peaking at the same time. They're coming into their own, like, at the same time. And, we all thought it would be a good match, and it really turned out to be a good one.
We did have some better matches, and they're going to come back to my brain. It's been a long couple days, but Zion, both these guys, Lakeside is what they call him. Williams obviously is they call him Lakeside. No one even calls him by his name or even Lakeside. He went to Lake Highland Prep down in Florida. Zion, both of them are really hardworking. Man, if I've been impressed with their work ethic in the room, they are. They do not short themselves reps. They are not going half speed. These guys work incredibly hard. This is kind of one of those matches where they know themselves so well. It's tough. Yeah. It is tough. I think what Zion's showed there, Zion's just got a really good burst that when he really needs to get to a leg, he has a gear. He's got a gear that can get him to a leg when he wants to get there. He has duck unders. He has so much. Lakeside has a lot in there too. He's a guy that's going to continue to get better because his work ethic, his explosiveness, but he's tough. These guys, they don't want to give up. They don't want to give an inch. That's what we want. They're only going to elevate each other. And we have, we got some young guys around on either side of their weight class too that are going to continue to push them. And so tough as a coach to watch, only one guy can get their hand raised, but really where I'm at is like, hey guys, you're both going to reach your best potential because you have each other. Right. That would lead me back to the match before with Danny Wask and Cale Krebs. Cale Krebs is also at 184 pounds with those two guys that we just saw on the screen. Yeah. We put him down against Danny just to really try to push Danny. Danny, as you know, as one of his main workout partners, is just incredibly strong, incredibly diligent with his training, and he's relentless with his attacks. And we might not have footage of it, but basically all you got to know is probably the strongest kid you've ever seen, who has a ton of confidence, who loves wrestling. And how do you not want to coach a kid like that? Yeah. And Cale Krebs too, ton of talent. Yeah. Just caught it. He's in a weight class where we are very, we have a lot of depth, which as a coach you love, and we will take that every single day of the week. And Cale's a great teammate, comes to practice every day, works his butt off. He'll wrestle Danny. He'll wrestle both those guys at 84. He will go up and wrestle Peyton Thomas. And so, yeah, that our upper weights are just in great hands. And it's been really fun to see all of them, butt heads in the practice room because, man, you don't know what you're going to see with any of those guys I mentioned.
Yeah, I think, it's a good problem to have, and I think what's so great about all those guys that you mentioned is like you kind of hit on it, talking about the event and wrestling your own teammate is like, they just kind of drop the gloves and get after it. But then, when they're off the mat, they're best friends and they're brothers. They're looking out for each other. And, I think that resonates well with all wrestlers and all wrestling teams. But I think it's a little bit special here, given the environment and circumstances. And, I was joking with some of my former teammates, on the podcast earlier, like I've still got, probably 6 different group chats with 20 different guys, from the team. And it's just like, the banter doesn't stop. So, you go out there, you compete, you wrestle hard, and you're both fighting to win tooth and nail, and you're clawing your way through it. But, at the end of the day, he's your best friend. So, the event was great. I had a lot of fun. It's been a couple years since I'd seen one, and I think you added some good nuggets there. It was good perspective, and appreciate that. With that said, like, how are you feeling about things as we roll into Pitt a couple days away, and really what that means for the rest of the season?
We're going to be in incredible shape. We're going to get our guys feeling good. Coach Cola and Coach Blaze have a system that they believe in, and first time really down to scratch, right?
Yep.
But that we have guys that have wrestled their whole life, that have been at this level. We have some great leadership. We haven't even talked about Josh Coderhant, who's just an absolute stud. And I don't use stud very lightly, but he stands out in the room as just he drills a different way. He walks a different way. He wrestles a different way, and he talks a different way too.
He talks a different.
He's a unique guy, but it's you need leaders like that for a program to jump levels. You need people that believe, and he talks, but he walks it, and I don't mean talk in a bad way. He's confident, and he walks in the room and he expects to win. He expects to work hard, and he's a great leader for our guys to look at. We haven't even mentioned him, but we have a really solid team this year. I'm so excited to see him, put the singlet on and wrestle against other people. Obviously, Pitt's in the middle of the best state. They're in the best part of the best state. They have a great roster as well. Carrie and Blaze are super familiar with their lineup and who they're going to have in there. I recruited several kids on there, so I'm pretty familiar with their lineup as well. So, I mean, we're obviously looking forward to it. It's the first event of the year. It's a dual meet. We're up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Like, what's there not to be excited about? We want to see our guys wrestle hard and try to score a lot of points. I mean, this is kind of the time of year where it's like you break it down to the guys, say, guys, the goal is to score more points than your opponent. And so focus on that. Focus on scoring first, score at the end of periods, score last, keep scoring, right? The scoreboard will tell the tale of the match, but go out and be aggressive. We are in great shape. Go be confident. What our lineup looks like, I don't know. We're dealing with the same things that a lot of teams are dealing with. It's, you got to make weight. You got to stay healthy. So we'll see who we have in the lineup. But whoever it is, I mean, let's go scrap against a really good opponent. And then the following day, some guys are going to go to an open tournament right down the road in Clarion, which again, I've never been to the Clarion Open, which a lot of these experiences are really, on a personal level, really exciting for me. Seeing EIWA and East Coast teams that maybe I haven't seen in some of my other stops. But yeah, we want to get as many matches as we can on Saturday and Sunday. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend of wrestling. And then, I think everybody is equally excited as you are. And, hopefully we come back with a little bit of hardware from Clarion and, with a W from Pittsburgh. So, hey man, I just, want to thank you, appreciate your time. And, as we wrap this thing up, personally excited that, that you're here. I think, it's going to be a great experience this year, and I'm going to learn a lot from you personally, from wrestling and from coaching and leadership. I think you are, you're a perfect balance to that staff. And then you bring a lot to the table with the guys, personally connecting with certain athletes, and, your experiences will most certainly resonate, to the guys on the mat, and hopefully, some of your accomplishments will as well. We get some hardware, this year and in years to come. But Ty, thanks again. I appreciate your time, and let's get after it.
Absolutely. We'll see you in the office tomorrow.
All right. I'll see you.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on the Navy Wrestling Club podcast. See you then.